Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we're going to talk about the legend of Cropsey. That's from Staten Island. We have Vanessa Hogel and Julia Siracusa that are going to be on the show with us tonight to talk about it. They've been investigating it all weekend. I've been watching some of their live streams. It's a really interesting story, especially if you're familiar with like the old Hookman tales and that. A lot of origins here. And then, of course, we'll have a Skype line in to call in the show tonight. Is going to be one because they're going to be on the phone line. So it's going to be the video Skype line at Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat later in the show. You can call in on that. We can see you. If you don't want to be seen, just turn off your camera. And like we do every Sunday night is the World Wide Web of Weird. We'll be getting into that in just a few minutes. And guys, this could be a really interesting story. I love these kind of crime, mythological kind of stories like this. The urban legend. This urban legend became real. So this is going to be really interesting. All right, guys, we'll be with you in just one sec. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight we have almost the full Paranormal Soup team with us. Let me go ahead and get that share screen up here. If I remember which button it is. Oh, that's our guest. Well, we're going to have our guests tonight. They are on by phone, so I'll be calling them after the break. But in the panel with us tonight, of course, we have Bill Perry is joining us tonight. Usually joins us for ITC shows, but this sounds like an interesting subject, so I'm glad you're here with us. How you doing tonight, Bill?
Real good. How's it going?
Pretty good. And then we got Jamie D, as always. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing good, thank you.
I know you love these kind of crime.
I am so excited. I can't wait to start getting started.
And then we got Rob Autry as well, down all the way down to St. Augustine, Florida. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Absolutely wonderful.
Glad to have you on.
My favorite people.
And then on our video engineer, Jeffrey here, which we're going to be rolling into the World Wide Web of Weird here. And, well, let's just go ahead and roll right on into it, actually. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we're going to start out with an update from last week's World Wide Web of Weird. I always say if I find some kind of piece of evidence or whatever has been updated or revealed to be utter crap or furthermore revealed to be even more true, I'll always try to update you guys on the World Wide Web of Weird. And last week we talked about the Amelia Earhart photo and the History Channel documentary. Well, this just proves why we should not believe everything we see on TV or the internet. So this comes from TheGuardian.com. A blogger discredits claim Amelia Earhart was taken prisoner by Japan. Remember, this came up last week. They have this picture. Oh, let me make sure I share the screen here so we can see the article. Claims made in a U.S. documentary that pioneering aviator Amelia Earhart landed on the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean, was taken prisoner by the Japanese, appear to have been proven false by a photographer unearthed in a travel book. The History Channel documentary Amelia Earhart, The Lost Evidence, which aired in the U.S. on last Sunday, made the claim that the American and her navigator friend, Fred Noonan, ended up in a Japanese custody based on a photograph discovered in the U.S. National Archives that purported to show them standing at a harbor on one of the islands. The film said the image may hold the key to solving one of history's all-time greatest mysteries, and suggested it disproved the widely accepted theory that Earhart and Noonan disappeared over the Western Pacific on July 2nd, 1937, near the end of their attempt at a history-making flight around the world. But serious doubts now surround the film's premise after Tokyo-based blogger unearthed the same photograph in the archives of the National Diet Library, Japan National History. The image was part of a Japanese-language travelogue about the South Seas that was published almost 2 years before Earhart disappeared. Page 113 states the book was published in Japanese, held Paulo on 10th of October 1935. The caption beneath the image makes no mention of the identities of the people in the photograph. It describes a maritime activity at the harbor of Jabar and Jelit Atoll, the headquarters of Japan's administration for the Marshall Islands between the First World War and its defeat in the Second World War. The caption notes that the monthly races between the schooners belongs to local tribal leaders, and other vessels turned to port into a bustling spectacle. Kodo Yamo, I probably butchered that, sorry Kodo, military history blogger who unearthed the Japanese photograph, said it took him just 30 minutes to effectively debunk the documentary's central claim. I've never believed the theory that Earhart was captured by the Japanese military, so I decided to find out for myself, Yamano told The Guardian. I was sure that the same photo must be on record in Japan. Yamano ran an online search using the keyword Jelit Atoll and a decade-long time frame starting in 1930. The photo was the 10th item that came up, he said. I was really happy when I saw it. I find it strange that a documentary makers didn't confirm the date on the photograph or the publication which it originally appeared. This is the first thing they could have done. Yamano's Twitter post fueled social media's discussion of the possible cause of Earhart's disappearance and criticism of the History Channel documentary. The photograph shows a woman with her back to the camera, who the film suggests is Earhart, alongside a man, purportedly Noonan, whose face is visible with other people standing on a dock on Jelit Atoll in the Marshall Islands. Earhart and Noonan were last seen taking off in their twin-engine Lockheed Electra on July 2nd, 1937, from Papua New Guinea en route to the Howland Island, about 2,500 miles away. You know, you can read this article on The Guardian, but it just shows they got this one photo, made a whole documentary out of it, made a big deal out of it for the History Channel, and 30 minutes of research, and a guy totally blew it away. Just totally showed how much of crap it was. This is what we're dealing with. Fake news. Well, fake documentaries.
I know, man. What happened to? Why can't they just report real stuff anymore?
Right, exactly. I mean, why did they have to? Why didn't they research it further? For one,
clickbait.
Really? Yeah. Well, it's not just click. This is the History Channel. They want you to clickbait over to their channel and watch it. It's ridiculous. I mean, come on. 30 minutes. This guy totally destroyed their whole premise of their documentary. All right,
and I was really excited to watch that too. That's one that I wanted to see.
It's her disappearance is going to be one of those mysteries that always fascinates the public's mind. All right, we're up to number 2 here on the World Wide Web of Weird. This comes from unexplainedmysteries.com. China has teleported a photon into orbit. And this is stuff I like because I'm a sci-fi geek. Working out of a base in Tibet, more than 4,500 meters above sea level, the team achieved the feat thanks to Mikius, a tiny quantum-enabled satellite that was launched into the orbit last year. I might have totally butchered what the name of that satellite is. The key to the project is a concept known as quantum entanglement, which involves pairs of entangled particles, each inextricably linked to the other, even when they are apart. This phenomenon, which Einstein referred to as spooky action at a distance, means that changing the properties of one particle result in a corresponding change in the other, even when the two entangled particles are located a large distance from one another. Scientists have previously demonstrated potential to teleport data between two entangled particles in a laboratory, but now the team in China has managed to achieve the same thing over a distance up to 1,400 miles by beaming one half of the entangled pair up to the orbiting satellite. Their success marks the first step towards the creation of an encrypted quantum network, a completely uncrackable form of communication. One day, methods like these could have even lead to the creation of a super secure quantum internet. Everybody sees this, they think they're talking about teleporting humans. Maybe one day, we're nowhere near that. But it is interesting because you're talking about the highest, fastest speed we could transfer data. And if we want to communicate to people on Mars or on Moon, long-distance communication too. We're going to need something like this. So my sci-fi brain loves this kind of stuff. All right, let's move on. Number 3 in the World Wide Web of Weird. This video says a devil child trying to manifest itself. This is from the Paranormal Globe, the article comes from Beyond Reality News. Some claim this video is of a devil child trying to manifest in a haunted house. Thoughts? Mark was investigating the haunted home at the time and believes what you see in the video is that of a devil child trying to manifest itself in front of the room of his house. Now, people that are listening, we broadcast to Facebook Live, but we're also broadcasting Late Night in the Midlands radio network. which you can listen to on LateNightMidlandsRadioNetwork.com, or you can listen to on TuneIn. If you want to see these videos, I do post them on my Paranormal Soup YouTube channel under World Wide Web of Weird playlist or under Tonight's Show. And I also make an edit of this World Wide Web of Weird every Sunday, and it usually is up on my Facebook the next day and up on YouTube maybe a few days later. So you can always check out these videos later, or just go to the websites I tell you about. This one's from BeyondRealityNews.com. Mark was investigating a haunted home at the time that he believes what you see in the video is that of a devil child trying to manifest itself in front of the room of the house. Answer the question about this at the bottom of this video. Well, no, whatever. He said, at first I thought it was the figure of a young boy, but on closer inspection it appears to have horns. You can clearly see its features and horns. I don't clearly see, unless he means what's going on to the left. The house has a history of ghostly goings-on, with an exorcism being performed by the church back in the 1980s after residents living in there at the time were complaining of being kept awake at night due to scratching noises at the foot of their bed and feeling as someone was trying to crawl into their bed. That's the worst. I don't know. I mean, they show a lot of different angles. They show the...
I just saw the horns, what they are calling horns. Now I see it. It looks like, if you're familiar with The Sims, the freezer bunny ice cream thing, it just looks like a shape that happened to have 2 fingers coming up. I don't know if they mean that's the horns, but it's that little blob that you see moving up there, I think.
I don't
what
know.
They're talking about.
I just don't really see it. There's something going on there, but I don't know if it's paranormal. I just don't know.
And a lot of matrixing, it looks like. Like the video quality is really bad.
Well, part of it's bad because we're replaying it on here. You can check this out at Paranormal Globe, watch the video, see what you think you're seeing in it. I don't know. I really don't see anything. I don't see the horns. I don't see it. But it's been viral. A lot
Right
of people
there, right there.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll tell you. Right now. Do you start to see those 2 fingers come up?
Where at
In the
picture?
top left.
Okay, yeah, I see that. I see that.
Now
I see
look,
that.
there's like 2 things, and that's the only things I see that look like they could be horns real fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of see it. I don't know. I think it's a camera blip. I don't know. All right, let's move on. This comes from the Herald.co. Mysterious stones raining on a town in Chinhoy, I believe you say. So this comes from the Herald. Mysterious stones rain on Chinhoy family. Walter Namakandio, Chinhoy Bureau. This is where this comes from. Okay. Chinhoy family is living in fear and anguish after mysterious stones from an invisible source rain on them, inflicting injuries and damaging property. Initially, the stones targeted family members and started at 20.08 hours every night, but the attacks are now frequent. The audible claps and pinching often result in people fainting for up to 3 hours. The Herald visited the house, number 4146A, in Chicano suburb, Chinhoy, butchered that, where these mysterious happenings have been witnessed. Heaps of stones, including half bricks, broken window panes, and asbestos sheets, that's not good, are strewn around the house. Miss Tabitha Chivira narrated the family's ordeal, which started on May 9th this year. Her 22-year-old daughter, Concelia, was the first victim after she was hit by small stones on 2 occasions. The stones got bigger with time. The family now has 2 sacks of stones whose source is a mystery. Because of the frequency of the attacks, I've come to understand that some of the wind often precedes the attacks. Currently, the attacks are mostly targeted at my 19-year-old daughter, says Mrs. Chavira. Prior to the attack, the family would find a bag full of clothes on their yard. The last-born, Shamisio, 19, is attacked more frequently and loses consciousness whenever it happens. In some instances, she reveals the identity of the family's tormentors in a trance. The father, Mr. Philip Chavira, 55, has also been at the receiving end of the attacks. We've been seeing him seeking help from Paulistic sect prophets, but to no avail. They have not been able to help. I don't know what is wrong. I've done nothing to deserve such a pain and mysterious occurrences in my family. We'd like to appeal for anyone who can help, but the manifestations of my daughter and previous experiences will need someone strong. In a bid to avoid attacks on her daughter, Ms. Chavira tried to create a buffer around her one day using a 3.6-inch metal sheet. That did not help, as the 2 stones managed to penetrate the main roof and the metal sheet, giving off a thunderous sound. I thought I could protect my daughter and hope that when the stones penetrate the roof, they would land on the metal sheet and avoid her. However, 2 stones hit her and she fainted, and when we looked at the sheet, there was 2 footprints the size of small fingers, she said. Doors, windows, and walls are pounded like someone is knocking with a strong force. Some window panes have been broken, while doors have been loosened from their hinges. Strangely, stones penetrate the walls, roof, and windows, sometimes without leaving a mark. Neighbors confirmed hearing strange noises like someone is banging the doors. At times, clothes are mysteriously found outside. The currents at this house are quite strange. People are being attacked by stones, which has resulted in us fearing to visit the home, said a neighbor. At one time, the family called apostolic, I'm totally butchering that, faith prophets who performed rituals to cleanse the house. However, a clay pot they had buried in the ground was found at the doorstep the following morning. Must have been some part of some of the ritual. When they surveyed the yard, they found a large hole size of the clay pot. At times when the family prepares for a meal, it's filled with human waste. Ooh. That somebody took a dump in it, basically. Shimizu is always escorted by her family even to visit the toilet as she's attacked whenever she is alone. We ensure that she is not alone at any given time because any moment she is left alone, she's attacked. When it happens, something forceful like a snake moves inside her stomach. Oh, that's scary. Almost as if to squeeze her heart and lungs. So we move quickly to block it. It's a real battle, says Conceal, a sister to Shimizu. Ms. Sharira says she believes in prayers which have helped calm the situation. Some elders from the local church went to the house to offer prayers, but left in a huff after they were hit by stones. Wow. You know, they keep talking about the daughter. To me, it sounded like a classic, if it's real. This comes from July 8th, too. Like a classic poltergeist, like centered around a teenage girl. She's 19. You know, this just sounds so classic, you know. That kind of activity. Like, it's not a ghost. It's more centered around some psychokinetic energy from the teenager. I love these kind of stories because to me, you're tapping into the primal nature of our own psychic energy when you deal with these kind of cases. All right, let's move on. All right, next up, number 5 is alien footprints found in, this is from the New Indiana Express. Alien footprints found near Karnataka, Gadago. How to say that there. Oh. And then the article goes to, you've just won a Amazon. No, I don't care. Never. This didn't happen before. I lost my article. We might have to skip this one. I had an article for it, and it's being, now it doesn't want to let me read the article because it wants me to sign up for Amazon. All right. People found these half footprints have been found wiped out at many points because the curious visitors are tramping about to see alien footprints. This is like alien footprints. I'm trying to remember the article. I read it. Now I can't read it now because it's not up. We'll just move on. Move on from that one, Jeff. I can't get the article to work. This one, this is cool. Especially if you're a Halo fan. This is like straight out of Halo or some kind of video game. It's from Unexplained Mysteries. Russia is developing a stormtrooper exosuit. The futuristic exoskeleton combat suit looks like something straight out of a science fiction movie. And if you people are listening to the show, if you see this, it totally looks like something out of a video game, like some kind of bio exosuit, like almost Halo-like. And he's got some badass machine gun to go with it. Keen to ensure that its armed forces are well equipped for any challenges of the future might hold, Russia's Central Research Institute for Precision Machine Building is working on creating a state-of-the-art suit for Star Wars-esque combat armor, featuring a powerful exoskeleton, a heads-up display inside the helmet, and even a ballistic protection system designed to keep the wearer safe from enemy bullets. The suit is still just a concept at the moment, but there are plans to begin production within the next few years. Not to be outdone, the U.S. military is also believed to be working on something similar, known as the Tactical Light Operator Suit, or TALOS, which takes an inspiration from the Marvel superhero Iron Man. Just how many of these combat suits will actually be produced, however, remains unclear. Future warfare will involve operators and machines, not soldiers shooting at each other on the battlefield, said Lieutenant General Ardney Girgorov, I totally butchered that, of Russia's Advanced Research Foundation. And I just saw, right before the show, a recent article talking and showing pictures of the American version. The American version looks like something out of Splinter Cell. It's got like 3 eyes on it or whatever. It's really weird for the night vision. But yeah, I guess we're making our own. So the battlefields are going to change. We know this, and it's going to look like something out of a video game. All right, last up on the World Wide Web of Weird. This is one I've been really waiting for. This comes from allufos.com, and this video footage is crazy. And I love the stuff where people are flying in planes because it scares the crap out of me. A truly unique UFO encounter took place over Toluca, Mexico recently, where a pilot observed a number of unusual objects passing his plane mid-flight. You'll see these things fly right by his plane. In the unedited footage below, we can see a number of unidentified objects zooming past his aircraft. The pilot clearly has no idea what they are, and at first glance it is difficult to determine what we are looking at here. The objects appear metallic in nature, and some resemble orbs, but they are flying too high and too fast to be drones. They are clearly not balloons or anything of that nature either. Thanks to the pilot for the fascinating sighting. I mean, the one ends up coming right up at his front of his plane, the last shot. I made another edit. There's that one. You see it right fly by, and it's going so fast. You know, this small plane isn't going that fast. These things are zooming right by it. It's crazy. And you can see another one off in the distance there. And for people to find this footage, you can look it up on YouTube on my playlist. Go to Paranormal Soup on YouTube or Jason Bland. You can find it in the World Wide Web of Weird playlist. It's UFO over Toluca. I'm totally butchering it said Mexico. Check out that video because I think this is legit footage. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't look like somebody faked. You can see his kind of reaction in the small plane he is. Like, he's kind of scared. I don't have the audio playing of the video, but if you listen to the audio, you can hear his kind of intake of breath when one of them comes up at him. Like, oh, geez. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. So we're going to go ahead and roll into our first commercial break of the show. When we come back, we're going to have our guest, Julia Syracusa and Vanessa Hogel. We're going to talk about the Legend of Cropsey from Staten Island. They've been investigating all weekend. So we're going to do that, and then we'll be back. And after the second break, we will have call-in lines to the show. It'll be the Soup Live Chat, 800 Live Chat. But let's go ahead and roll into our commercial break. We'll see you in just a few minutes. All right, let's see. We have our guests here. Are you with us, Vanessa and Julia?
Yeah, yes, we are.
Awesome.
Hi.
How you guys doing tonight?
Hello.
So
We're doing great. Yeah, we're good.
I don't know who wants to go first to talk a little bit about, tell the people about themselves and how they got involved in all this. What about you, Vanessa? Do you want to go first?
Well, sure, since Julia was pointing at me anyway.
I knew it.
My name is... You're psychic. Did you know that?
Yes. No, not at all.
I know, right? My name is Vanessa Hogel. I am a remote viewer. I chat them up with the dead folks. I've got 2 books out there now, with my 3rd coming out in September. Those are Soulscapes and Giving Up the Ghost, and the 3rd coming out in September is going to be Walking with Ghosts. And I have my own weekly show that I do on YouTube with my publisher. And I got involved in this because Julia made me do it. This is true.
What's the YouTube channel that you do? Is it like a webcast?
My publisher and I, we have our YouTube channel is Haunted Road Media, and our show is called Edge of the Rabbit Hole. Big shout out to my Mad Hatters out there that listen to us and watch us every week. Love those guys. And we talk about everything paranormal. Everything. It doesn't matter how crazy it is. We will jump down that rabbit hole.
Well, we go down a lot of rabbit holes here, and this is the perfect place for it. Right. So, Julia, how did I mean, like I just mentioned right before at the end of the commercial break, we had Phil on here. We've talked about the Horsefly Chronicles. You've obviously lived in a haunted house and still do. Is that how you got involved in the paranormal? Is much more to it? I know you have a history with the Legend of Cropsey.
Yes, I do have a history. I grew up in Staten Island, New York, and actually one of the little girls that went missing was my friend. She was in my 2nd grade class.
Wow.
And lived on my block.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so it was a very traumatic time for the community, the neighborhood, and parents, families, everyone. So that's decent. One day we were sitting, and me, Phil, and one of my friends, we were sitting, and the documentary came on of the Legend of Cropsey. And I said, I know this girl, and I just started researching ever since. I was only 7 when she disappeared. I do remember my parents, they used to use, the boogeyman as, to scare the children, to scare us.
Right.
come in at this time, or the boogeyman's going to get you. Like, that's how it was always used. I really didn't know what was going on. I knew my friend wasn't there anymore. You know, and I knew everyone was very upset.
Well,
So
I'm interested. I was to say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to. The legend of Cropsey. What was it that your parents told you when you were a kid?
Well, you know, they told me as best as they could for 7-year-olds, and they said, you know, this is what happened, and you have to be very careful. You can't be outside alone, and you know, it was very scary.
What we found out, if you don't mind me hopping in here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
3 days.
So yes, a long 3 days. So we apologize if we're a little tired. But,
Totally understand.
The original legend of Cropsey actually doesn't really have a time frame that it came into play. It's just one of those things.
The urban legend.
It's just a legend. It's, you know, one of those little urban legends that's out there that, you know, the boogeyman, the story that all parents tell their kids to make sure that they don't venture too far away from home, or, you know, things like that. You know, he'll snatch you up off the streets and eat you up, that kind of thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where Andre Rand comes into play is that urban legend that was really present here on Staten Island was applied to him when he was believed to be the one who was kidnapping and raping and murdering these children. So the legend was actually around well before his name was tied to these cases.
Right. It's like the legend came to life in a way, or did he use that? You know.
I don't think he used it, but I think it was used definitely and being applied to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have found. Now, I do have to share, and Julia, I hope this is okay. What I found very interesting is speaking with one of our anonymous, connections today. This morning, actually, we actually found out that although Andre Rand was convicted of the kidnapping of Jennifer Schweiger in 1988 for her kidnapping in 1987, we found out that the legend, even though it was applied to him and he was the one everyone was calling Cropsey, we found out that when people were moving here in 1991, that they were still trying to apply a curfew and still threatening children with the legend of Cropsey, even though the person who it was supposed to be applied to was imprisoned.
Well, I know some of what I read about it and saw a little bit of the documentary. They also believed he wasn't the only one guilty, that there were other homeless people around that. What is the abandoned buildings that they used where probably a lot of the murders took place. What are those abandoned buildings?
It's called the Willowbrook State School, which we were in yesterday. It was an asylum for the disabled children, and it started in the 1960s, and then in 1987 it was actually closed down. But that's where they put the children that were disabled.
And he worked there. Rand worked there, right?
Yes, he was a janitor. He was a janitor / doctor's aide there. So back in that day, anybody could get a job there because they were so desperate for people and help. And they, didn't check that he was a convicted sex offender.
Wow.
Child rape. He was already a child rapist. He already did time in prison before he got that job.
I can imagine the horrors that he caused just while he was working there.
Yes.
So, you guys have been investigating this weekend, these locations. Is this your first time getting to actually go out there and investigate?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
For this particular case, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how did this come together? Like, you just wanted to finally, like, for your friend in a way, kind of get to go do this, to get to investigate these locations? Are you in a way for closure with your friend?
Yeah, so like I said, I was watching the documentary, and I just started researching, And I said, I was just researching, and I was like, I have to go down there. And I planned on going down myself. And then I said to myself, I can't do this by myself. So I had a vision, and I said, I have to create a team. I need help. And then I just went to Vanessa, and I
Talked
said,
her
you
into
have
it.
to do this.
I told you she made me.
And then I just found two other girls, Rachel Wagner and Gina Johnson, and, you know, they're great. And the four of us became a team. So I guess I kind of created a team for the Legend of Cropsey and to get answers for my friends and all the other little girls and boys that are missing as well.
And there's a number of them, they've never found their bodies, correct?
Yes.
There's only one whose body they found.
And
Right.
that's Jennifer Swack.
Yeah, she's the only body that was found, and it is believed that she was actually moved to that location.
Yes.
She was moved. That wasn't her original burial site.
She was reburied.
She was reburied on Willowbrook ground.
So she was murdered somewhere else, most likely.
Well, she
Correct.
was murdered somewhere else, disposed of elsewhere, or kept elsewhere.
Right.
Those grounds were actually, they actually covered the grounds, searched the grounds, found nothing, then came back, searched the grounds again where they had searched before, and all of a sudden she's there in a shallow grave.
Yeah.
Right, I remember reading that. So, what are your thoughts? You know, Vanessa, I don't know, have you looked into, you know, as a remote viewer, I'm sure you've had to have taken time to kind of, before you even went there, look into this place. Did you try to remote view it before you went?
Absolutely. The funny thing is, it's kind of one of those things. The information just comes to you how it comes to you, and sometimes it makes absolutely no sense at all. And we found that out in the strangest way. There was a particular song that's out there that's called Despacito. I'm sure you've heard of it. And I'm not talking about that Justin Bieber person. I mean, it's like the actual song, you know, with the real Spanish fellas or Puerto Rican fellas or whatever they are, the real cute ones. Okay.
Yeah.
There was that song, and ever since I guess about 6 days before I was to fly out here, I couldn't get it out of my head at all. It just, I would even wake up hearing the song in my head, and I'm like, okay, I like it, but I don't like it that much.
It doesn't matter how
You know?
much you like a song. If it gets stuck in your head that much, you're just like, okay, I'm done with the song. Stop, monkey brain.
I know, right?
Stop playing the song.
Oh, so much truth in that statement. But so for whatever reason, and I can't even remember why, but on Wednesday night before I was to fly out on Thursday, my best friend Jana and I, we were at my house. We just had dinner, and we're looking up the song because I played it for her, and we're like, I wonder what that means in English. So we looked it up, and it doesn't translate very well, but one word stood out, and it didn't make any sense to us, but I just filed it back, and that word was labyrinth.
Labyrinth?
Which makes labyrinth. Why that would be in a song about getting it on, sang in Spanish, I have no idea, okay? However, we are a couple of days later at the location where Holly Ann Hughes, which is Julia Chiacusa's friend from the second grade, where she was kidnapped from. We're snapping pictures, we're doing this, that, and the other, and getting some video and everything. Don't even look at the stuff until yesterday. And, by the way, have I mentioned that everything written in this area is in Spanish, as
Really?
is that song? Yes, sir. But it gets better. We didn't know until yesterday when I started looking through my pictures on my phone that I had snapped a picture of a graffitied wall right over here by where Holly Ann Hughes was kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what's written on that wall?
Labyrinth in Spanish?
Yep, labyrinth.
Wow.
Which makes absolutely no sense. But for all the listeners out there, this is why I always tell you, when you get a message, regardless of how ridiculous it sounds, write it down, because it might mean something. And we've had a lot of those instances this weekend.
Really?
It's been insane. Yes.
Hey, you're still on it in a way. I mean, you guys, just getting done with this investigating and that. So, we'll talk a little bit about maybe some of the evidence you got, but I want to get a little bit more into the story of Cropsey too.
Absolutely.
One with your friend, you know, she was taken. Her body was never found.
Yes, her body was never found.
You know, so you know, what was that in the 80s when that happened?
1982.
No, she was July 15, 1981 at 9:30
Sorry,
p.m.
1981, 9:30 p.m.
Oh wow!
So that was yesterday.
Oh, so it's an anniversary.
Yesterday, 36 years ago.
Yes.
Do you think you have a connection? Like, the reason I asked this, I lost a friend around that age, and I had a little moment when I was a kid where I got really scared when I saw this friend after she had died in a car wreck in a cardboard fort I made. She was inside of it, and I had another time in my life where I saw her, you know, and it was really young. I was in kindergarten when she was killed in a car wreck. Do you think you had some kind of connection to this friend after she passed that has urged you on into this?
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely there's a connection there. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Vanessa, now as a remote viewer, have you looked into that? Like, you know, I don't know. You had that sequence, but do you, when you, I mean, I guess for remote viewing, I'm trying to understand, is it like you can see locations and stuff, or you remote view and you get contact with spirit, you know, like that her friend could come through and you could get a message from her or anything like that?
Well, she actually, it can go any one of those ways. I mean, sometimes, like if I'm remote viewing for the team in England that I help, they will come to me and sit in my living room and tell me what I need to know so I can pass it on to the team, or they'll just be talking in my head, so on and so forth. Holly did something that was really, really strange. The night before I was to fly, 2 nights before I was to fly to come here, Holly woke me up in my bedroom making a noise that I could not figure out what it was. But it lasted for about 10 minutes, and when it stopped dead. There was no reverb, there was no nothing. It was like there's the sound and then it's gone. And the best way that I could and for Rachel Wagner, who was also on the team, that same night, unbeknownst to any of us, she was having activity in her house as well. And she's an empath.
Similar activity too? Was she hearing a noise at all like you were?
She was hearing a lot of banging noise, enough to where it actually sounded like something was being, like a dresser was being banged on the floor and she was being touched.
Wow.
The sound that I heard is, the best way I could describe it to the girls is, if you took an empty gallon of milk and filled it up about 90% with pennies, leaving enough room so that they could move if they need it, you know, if you shook it, if you was to pick up that gallon of milk really fast and then slam it down really fast, that's the sound it made. And it literally lasted in my bedroom for 10 minutes.
Wow. You think it's some kind of clue to where her body may be?
Yes. Without a doubt, yes. Big yes. Big yes. Big capital letters.
Yes.
YES. We know what the sound is now. Had no idea what it was then. It was quite annoying, but I understand also why it was happening. And that's kind of how the evidence that we've gotten, you know, psychically has been, is it's been very, very, very odd pieces of a puzzle that was scattered to the wind years ago.
It's like a synchronicity.
And it's been insane. I'm one of those people that believes there's no such thing as coincidence. And I mean, I have a better chance of winning the lottery than I do of getting how many coincidences we've had this weekend.
Really?
Correct.
Yes.
Well, you think, you know, for me, one of the most, you know, you always hear the spirits being on unrest when their bodies have not been properly buried. These children, you know, for one, being never found, there's parents that are still alive to this day that want to know what happened to my child. As a parent myself, I want to know. You know, I'd want to know. So there's a lot of emotional energy involved in that. And you got to think there's got to be some spirits there that are wanting to come through and communicate into maybe help find their body.
Well, and that's the ironic thing is, I mean, they absolutely want to come through and help us find, you know, where the bodies are. They absolutely want to come through and help us do that. But the funny thing is, when you're talking about a case that is this old, if there are allegedly other people who were involved in these cases who are no longer with us, then you have just as many spirits who have passed who want the exact opposite.
Trying to hide it. Ooh, I never even thought about that.
Yes. I mean, it's very strange. It's very strange. Well, everyone thinks a haunting is a haunting is a haunting, and that isn't true. Staten Island has the strangest ghost I've ever come across with in my entire life. This is the most hush-hush of spiritual realms I have ever come across. I mean, it's silence.
It's not just the school building there that was abandoned that they were using too. There's the other famous abandoned building there. What's that called? That's
building number 6.
What is it?
Building number 6.
There's a lot of buildings.
Yeah.
It's not one.
Yeah, there are many, 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 and we went into them all.
And I was actually surprised to see so many.
Well, one of the things...
maybe there was maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
There was way more than I ever imagined.
Well, one of the things I remember seeing the documentary about it was that... they believed other homeless people that were living out there. There was like a community of people, and Rand was like their kind of cult leader, is the theory. And they were all, there's a lot of them that were all involved in the murders. So yeah, they could, he goes to jail, but they're still there and know where the bodies are, and we got to bury them deeper.
Well, that is the theory. That is the theory. We have the communication that has been given to us has led us down a different path.
Really?
And we are putting together all of our information and our evidence to be able to support what our belief is.
Yeah. Are you guys going to kind of put this together into like a kind of documentary video?
Yes.
Awesome.
I hope I was just vague enough. Okay. Thank you.
What were you going to say, Rob?
I was going to say, when you're on an investigation like that, one or two things you could chalk it up as, it's just a coincidence. But when stuff just keeps happening over and over and over, there's a point where it's not a coincidence. Something's happening.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Okay?
Exactly.
Yes. And we have had a very interesting time here in Staten Island. We have been sought after, videotaped, photographed, stalked, honked at, followed.
Is this a conspiracy on Staten Island? I mean, is there the public that's trying to stop you?
Everyone knows we're here, and everyone's trying to stop us.
Really?
May I ask, is it because they're trying to still use the legend, so they want to protect certain things, do you think?
Correct. Absolutely. There's things that we cannot discuss that we found out that they're trying to protect.
Really? It's like almost like a Nightmare on Elm Street feel to be like.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
I was a big Freddy Krueger fan when I was a kid.
Let's just say that the paranormal investigation has become
a legal investigation.
I saw you post that. I saw you say, when a paranormal investigation turns into a legal investigation.
It doesn't mean that we went to jail.
That's what I was like, what did you do?
Yeah, we don't want you to go to jail.
People were thinking that.
Yeah, people were actually offering us legal counsel, thinking that we went to jail. Bless them. Yes, for all of those who did that, we love you, and we'll let you know if that needs to happen. Okay, because we still have a little time here.
The chat room does want to know when. I think they're really interested in this story. When are you guys roughly planning on releasing a documentary on this?
Well, as soon as possible. I work a little bit, okay?
Me too. I know.
And, yeah, and we've got a lot of evidence, a lot of stuff to put together. We still have interviews that we have to film before Gina gets in the car and drives home. Julia goes home, and I get on a plane. Rachel, bless her, had to go ahead and leave today due to, family responsibilities. But, as soon as we can get this put together, we absolutely will. We're sharing what we can without compromising what we have. Because we want to make sure that it's as perfect as it can be so that people will wake up.
So, I was wondering when when you guys scheduled the show, like you're right in the middle of the investigation, at the end of it, at least, of part of it, that there's definitely going to be things you can't talk about yet,
Absolutely.
So just let me know if I go down the wrong road and you don't want to talk about it. That's perfectly fine. But I am still but we're going to come up a commercial break here just a little bit. But before we do, I still want to get more into the kind of one, like I said, it has that Freddy Krueger kind of feel to it. In the movies, if people have never seen Freddy Krueger, after the first movie and all that, and the sequels, like the town, nobody goes outside, and nobody wants to talk about it. I remember one where the only people left in the town were Roseanne Barr and her husband Tom Arnold. They did a cameo. It was really people were and it was attacking their kids in Nightmare on Elm Street, just like this. It just has such a similar creepy feel to it. And Freddy Krueger was kind of based off the Hookman urban legend. Now, as I understand it, Cropsey kind of took on that kind of Hookman kind of story back in the day, wasn't it? Like kind of a Hookman story.
Very, very much so. Since you gave a Freddy Krueger kind of reference to it, I'm going to go ahead and elaborate on that just a touch.
Ooh, good.
And it will give you an idea, okay, without us giving away too much. Let's say that Nightmare on Elm Street 2, we'll pick that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
Was a person, and it married Eyes Wide Shut.
Ooh. We're talking Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, Eyes Wide Shut? Stanley Kubrick?
Yeah.
Ooh. I like the sound of that. That sounds
HBO.
Not for kids in any way.
Yeah, so that's my point. And please keep in mind, we're a little delirious, so when we giggle, we're not making light of the situation at all. But we're very tired. And due to what we've been through these past days, keeping your humor keeps you sane.
Yeah. Well, that's what this show's
about.
To laugh. Otherwise, we'd go insane. We'd go insane on this show.
If we don't laugh, we will go insane.
True story. A little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, it's a good show to do it on. We get serious. We change gears. And to me, as a father, what I think about, I just watched the documentary recently. I just became aware of this because of you guys. I'd heard of it, barely. But I really, watched the documentary when I knew I was going to have you guys on. And as a father, the idea of having your child taken away from you and never knowing what happened to your child, to me, that's a horror story.
And that's why,
absolutely,
and that's why we're here today. Because as a mother, it's very, very sad.
Now,
we're all mothers here.
All fathers and mothers.
Yep. The type of children that were taken, not all of them, but a lot of them seem to be have mental disabilities, if I remember right.
Yes. It is our understanding that the only one who didn't was Holly.
Yes.
So she kind of didn't fit the profile of victims a little bit.
Exactly right. But this is another thing, and I think it's okay if I go ahead and bring this up. This is another thing. You have to look at the person that is in prison right now for these atrocities. Then you have to look at all of the atrocities that have been attributed to this one person. Now, I'm not sure how much y'all know or how much you've researched, but
just a little.
Yes, exactly. There was supposed to be the murder of nurses attached to him.
Right.
There was supposed to be the murder of Hank, who was 21 with the mentality of a 15-year-old. Hank obviously is a male. There are children as young as Holly, who is 7, who was not mentally disabled. And then you have them as old as 13 females who were disabled. Okay? And then you have a 48-year-old woman who was also supposed to be one of his victims. So in one person, you have a heterosexual, homosexual, pedophile. Oh, and did I fail to mention he liked to have sex with dead bodies? A necrophiliac. Not. Yeah.
Well, you just don't.
It doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't add up. I'm an amateur profile. I'm the amateur.
It doesn't add up.
I'm an amateur profiler, but you can ask my wife. I have a ton of books on FBI profiling, serial killers. She's like, "What is your fascination?"
Behavior analysis.
Right. I've just always been fascinated with something that's the complete opposite of who I am. You know, I'm empathetic towards a lot of things. I feel I get mad over situations that have nothing to do with me, but I empathize for the person that's a victim to a situation. Like, I'm the direct opposite of a serial killer, but that's where I find I'm so fascinated about it, because they can't empathize with anybody. But one thing I've learned in my amateur sleuthing of, getting into studying serial killers is they have one usual modus or not modus operandi, that's different, but they have one unique signature usually, or one unique thing that gets them off. And to have that many different ways of different victims is unusual, and to have those different acts, all those different ways of necrophilia. I mean, you do have some serial killers that kind of branch off from necrophilia into actual murdering real people. Sometimes necrophilia is their first step in a way, but the different victims, to me, is the big key there, because that's just not
exactly.
It depends on, if you're a serial killer, it's just sniping people, that kind of serial killer. Yeah, your victims could be a different range. But when you're up close and personal and doing things for power, I hate calling it sexual gratification, because it's more about power for them. That usually is they'd like to do it the same way every time, and they like the same kind of
about the timeline.
Yeah, the murders of the people, from like the 48-year-old woman all the way to Hank, those span 20 years? Yeah.
So could this suspect physically have done some of these that he's getting blamed on him?
Could you repeat that, please?
Like, go as far back as the legend goes, could this person that's getting blamed for it even have been around when some of these happened?
He's, to my knowledge, to Julia's knowledge, he's always been in this area.
Okay.
And has always been an outcast.
And has always been in and out of jail.
Has always been in and out of jail. So, I mean, he's not a good person.
No.
Not at all. We're not defending him. He's a terrible person.
He's a partner in a bigger conspiracy.
Yeah.
I was just wondering how long everything had been going on.
But when you bring up the eyes wide shut thing, that makes me think that it's not just a conspiracy of a bunch of homeless people. It was a conspiracy of some other bigger factor.
Mm-hmm.
And am I getting too hot there for it? That's what I picture.
Yeah, there's definitely more going on.
I told you I ain't the only one who's psychic.
I just have a vivid imagination for this stuff. That's why.
You know what? Hey, and I'm right there with you with the whole, behavioral analysis. I am in love with myself some Dr. Spencer Reed. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
From Criminal Minds. Yeah. So I'm right there with you. All of this fascinates all of us, and this whole thing is a quest for the truth, to find some closure. We realize that we're probably never going to find these bodies.
Yeah.
We have our reasons. We have our reasons why we think they will never be physically found.
That's sad, though.
But it is. But through communication in ways that are non-conventional, that we have video of, we believe that we are on the right track.
Yeah.
And have been able to bring these spirits a little bit of closure and a voice that they haven't had in a very long time.
Thank you for that, too. I'm really big on looking for missing people myself, and just hearing what you guys are doing and just knowing that they're children and all this is just, I love that you guys are taking the time to investigate this more.
Thank you. We were worried a little bit today, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is why we made that post, that this has become a different type of investigation, because when you're doing this, you do worry that, okay, if I'm not bringing all the paranormal evidence, are people still going to care?
Mm-hmm.
But we really believe they will, because okay, sure. Can we get ghosts? Yeah. Can we get ghosts to talk to us? Yeah. No biggie. That's going to happen. But what's the bigger picture? All we're ever saying is that we want to give, like my buddy from BPI, Beyond Perception Investigators, Gwen Clapper. This is their motto: to give the dead a voice and the living closure.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do.
And you're keeping them alive, too. They're not forgotten. By you guys doing this and talking about them and talking about their names, you're giving them life. You're keeping them alive in a way.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. That's exactly what we're trying to do. For every little child who never comes home and nobody knows where they go, there needs to be somebody thinking about them and making people remember.
Yeah.
That's, by seeing the documentary and seeing that is all I kept thinking about, is that there's parents, these parents are still alive. They're still wondering what happened to their child. Have you had any communication with Julia, with your friend's parents after before all this or during this at all?
Well, no, we've tried to contact them, but unfortunately we haven't had any luck with that. We do know that Jennifer Survivor's parents are deceased.
Yeah, we were actually at the mausoleum last night where we communicated with Jennifer.
Yes.
And she is actually buried, she's in a mausoleum next to her parents, and whom we believe is her mother's mother, her grandmother. Mm-hmm. And there's no way to talk with them living anymore. Mm-hmm. The attempts made to contact other victims, living family members, have borne no fruit.
Yeah.
If you felt like you got kind of that solid communication from one of the victims, and you did have a way, this is just my own interest, if I ever had this situation, but if you felt like you got that kind of strong communication from a victim, and you had a way to contact the parents, would you play it for them? Would you try to contact them to play them that evidence?
I would try. Yeah, I would definitely try.
Absolutely.
Yes.
As a mother, I would want to know.
And maybe we already do know.
Yeah. 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 Once the victims, the children, really knew why we were here and what our intentions were, it wasn't very difficult at all to get them to speak with us. Yeah. The children. That wasn't difficult at all. And they do it in their own little ways, whether it's through trickery. Yes, Jennifer Jones. Yes, when we were in the cemetery last night, trying to locate Jennifer's, what we thought at first was her headstone, which ended up being the front of the mausoleum marker that she had. We had stones thrown not at us, but to us, so that we would know she was there. And actually, when I say stones, honestly, hon, it was about the size of a nickel.
Yeah.
It was a little bit bigger, okay?
Yeah. It was kind of scary.
And she sure does love to play hide and seek.
Yes.
We spent 3 hours.
3 hours in her cemetery.
Yes, in her cemetery, trying
for her.
In the middle of the night. And
with no flashlight.
Yes.
Yes, flashlight.
Everything was dying. Everything was dying.
You couldn't get the flashlights to work.
No.
Everything
was dying. When we finally found where she was, and she was with her family, we had just enough battery life left on one camera to get just a little bit of video of a pendulum session communicating with her. Now, here's the other funny thing. When we were at a separate location, which we can't disclose, and we're trying to communicate with Holly, and our EMF meter is going through the roof on command, okay, on command. When that was going through the roof and we're trying to videotape it, we went through 4 phones. 4. They all were dying.
Oh,
so much energy was being used.
Yeah, 4 died.
4 died.
Then we had to move to the camera.
Then we moved to a camera. So much energy was being used for her to communicate with that.
And so you were getting really good evidence coming through? Like, were we talking like spirit boxes or just recording EVPs or all the above?
Well, that is the funny thing. Was it the spirit box we used at St. Andrews? The spirit box was used at one location that we were led to. With it was I walked away from there like, no, that didn't just happen, because it was crazy. Okay, and I think and the rest of y'all did too. It was like that did not just happen. Yeah. That didn't.
Well, let's hold that. Let's hold that story for after the commercial break. Always got to leave them with a hanger. So we're going to talk about what came through on the spirit box here after the commercial break, and then we'll also take phone calls into the show for our guest here. If you have questions about that, or this is an interesting story. I will have some questions. I know Jamie will, but if you have a question you're the guest, I can't see the chat room too well. Best way is to call into the show, and when we get back from break, I'll tell you how to do that. All right, be back with you in just 1 minute. We'll be back with our guests tonight, Vanessa Hogel and Julia Syracusa, talk about the legend of Cropsey. That's who we're talking about tonight. If you're watching on Facebook tonight, we can't see them. They're audio only on my audio online. That means we only have one way for you people to really call in. There's a Soup live chat, 800 live chat. It is a video call into the show. Jeffrey's my video engineer, will take care of that. There is one other line, but I'd rather you try that Soup live chat. But if that doesn't work for you, there is the Paranormal Soup Jay Bland Skype line. That might work. We'll see. All right, guys, we'll be with our guest here in just a second. All right, Vanessa, Julia, you guys still there with us?
Yes, we're here.
Awesome.
Hi.
All right, so we kind of held the audience there for the before the break on what you were getting coming through. You said this was at a spirit box. So what location was this you're at, or is it undisclosed? This was undisclosed, wasn't it?
Actually, this location is okay to talk about. This was at St. Andrew's Church on Staten Island in the Richmond area, and Richmond Town, and it is at the bottom of Snake Hill Drive. Is that correct? And what was utterly fascinating is, in a way that I can't disclose, we were led to this location under the impression that there was another spirit unconnected. This is how ironic this is. Y'all listen to this. That another spirit of a child who was not connected at all to the case, but friends with the deceased children. Which sure you could not be one of the victims and still be buddies with the spirits. So
hang out in a different cemetery.
Exactly, totally different realm. You got to think about that. This is how crazy this stuff gets. Y'all, you got to listen to yourself, okay? So we took this advice and went to this area, and we used a spirit box there. And when was it the spirit box we were using initially when I got Joseph? Yeah. Okay. We were using the spirit box when I heard the name Joseph. and he was confirming his name. And I was holding the EMF detector and talking to Joseph, and he was also responding on the EMF detector on command, going from the bottom of the colors all the way up to red when necessary to answer our questions. And he led all of us over to this little bridge that isn't over water. It's just one of those little wooden bridges that's built to stand on, I guess. We'll just go with that, right? And we talked to him a little bit more there, then went over to a bench, talked to him a little bit more there. As we're coming out, Rachel and I are walking, Julia and Gina are behind us, and I go to turn left to walk down in between these graves. Don't know why. It wasn't the way we came in. And Rachel's behind me because I'm not paying attention. I'm hungry, and I got a pee, so I'm trying to get out of there, okay? and I'm just keeping it real, hon, and I'm sorry. But all of a sudden, I hear Rachel gasp behind me, and I'm like, shit, what's on me? It's got to be like a bug or something, right? And I turn around, and she goes, Vanessa, look. And I look down, and it's Joseph. And I'm like, okay, that's Joseph. This is crazy. She goes, no, you don't understand. I said, what? And she goes, it's Joseph. And I said, okay, we've established that. She goes, no, Vanessa, this is Joseph, who is that bridge that we were just standing on is dedicated to. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh.
Got it.
Okay. Can we go eat now? I was just like, okay, we've got that. We're good. We talked to Joseph. He let us know exactly who he was. Keep in mind, this particular Joseph was not a young boy that was on this tombstone, but he was the same Joseph who that bridge was either dedicated to or he built it in memoriam to somebody else.
Did you get the name Joseph that came through, though, on the box?
Absolutely. Yeah, wow. Absolutely. Well, through the box, it was through my head first, and then confirmed on the box.
Oh, wow!
And so that freaks out a little bit, And so then we went to go get food, and because you got to do that, and so that was really an interesting situation because it's those little things that you just can't deny. Yeah. You can't deny that. Why the name Joseph? Why the bridge? Yeah. And why walk out a different way all of a sudden to find Joseph who dedicated the bridge?
That's crazy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But probably no connection to the case. Just a spirit that wanted to come through in the area.
Only in this. Well, yes, but there is a case. There is a connection though.
Oh, really?
But it's in the spirit. It's in the spiritual realm. Yeah.
Spiritual world.
Like Joseph made a connection with another spirit?
Correct. With Holly and Jennifer, yes.
Which
I know
hear
that sounds good.
No, you hear that happening. They say spirits connect on the other side. That they had no connection in life, but they connected through the family members. You find out about this connection afterwards in a medium, usually.
And that's exactly what happened.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like me being friends with Julia and Gina. None of us live in the same state.
Yeah.
The whole Paranormal Soup team, none of us are near each other.
I was just typing that in chat. The same way we all our spirits all get to know each other.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
It's the spirit internet.
Exactly right. It's just one of those really bizarre little things, I would say the three ways, aside from with all of us with our own separate abilities, aside from psychically, we have been able, luckily, to connect with spirits in these ways while we've been here. Obviously, the psychic part, we've got that down, but we've been able to do it through Spirit Box. We've been able to do it through EMS. We've been able to do it through pendulum readings that are very distinct.
Yeah.
When I say go clockwise for yes and counterclockwise for no, they make no bones about it. And we have made sure that every single time one of those pendulum readings has been videotaped, my hand, my arm, and the pendulum are all in the same shot.
Yes.
So there is
and thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
No problem. I mean, we are all four of us are all about, you got to keep it on the up and up. There is no fake evidence here because it discredits every last one of us and the entire field.
Exactly.
And we don't play that way. Yeah, we don't play that way.
Well, that's why I think some of the most trusted stuff I'm seeing, the most stuff people are watching now in the paranormal, isn't the stuff on TV. I mean, there are some TV shows I like, but it isn't the stuff on TV. I see more and more people that are paranormal fans, you could call them, checking out people like you, people that that are live streaming their investigations because they're seeing it right on firsthand. It's more believable. There's no production team. They're forcing the hand of the investigator to drama it up, or to push evidence that's not real,
Well, and speaking of that evidence, for those who are in the chat who follow us on Facebook, Threefold Paranormal, or Julia or Gina or myself or Rachel, we uploaded just a little bit ago a fully uncut 16-minute and 33-second video taken at Willowbrook State Hospital. And here's the thing. We didn't put down what we got from it.
Yeah.
So
we know what we got from it. We know what we got. What we want to know is what y'all did. Yeah.
So it's untagged, which I love. As an EVP guy, I like to always present my stuff when I do an EVP presentation. Now, with Spirit Box stuff like our last ITC show, I tagged it because it was live. There's a live version people can watch where it's not tagged, but afterwards I have a tag version. Are you guys going to come out with a tag version later? Like, just going to say, okay, this is what we think we're hearing.
Once the comments have calmed down, I have over 65 messages on my WhatsApp to listen to on what
It's going to be another long night.
Yeah, it's going to be another long night. We all have to go through those. We've all sat down and listened to it. We know what's there. But here's the ironic thing, or not the ironic thing. Here's the funny thing: the messages that we're getting from other people, they're picking up
things that we haven't,
that we didn't get.
So we're
That's why
learning.
I was fine with that.
Yes, we're learning from them too,
and we love that.
That's
Absolutely love that. Because also somebody could be watching this with abilities that we don't possess.
Exactly.
And pick up something completely different.
Which is happening.
It is happening a lot, and that's another piece to this puzzle.
We do have a caller on the line. I believe it's Zach on the video Skype line. Let me get him up here. How you doing tonight, Zach? You there?
Yep, I'm here. Jason, hey, Jamie, hey, Rob. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. You have a question for our guest?
Doing good.
Yeah, I do have 3 questions. Okay, the first question I wanted to get to. First up, Vanessa, Julia, it's very nice to meet both of you.
Hi.
My first question relates to the serial child kidnapper, and his name was Andre. What was his name again? Was it Andre? Okay. Now, his real name, from what I've looked up, was originally Frank. I think it was Frank Luchon, I believe.
Correct.
What was the origin of him changing his name? And did he do that long before he sought employment with Willow Creek State School?
It's actually our understanding, from what we've been able to find in the research, that he changed his name before any of the allegations of pedophilia or kidnapping were ever brought against him. Because here's the thing that people need to know, that if you've been convicted of a felony, I'm fairly certain in all 50 states here in America, you can't change your name once you've had a felony.
No.
Right.
Because you have a criminal record. So that his name, they don't ever state why he changed his name.
It was done before.
But it was done before any allegations were made against him.
But he might have known allegations were coming, so that's why he changed his name, so he could get another job.
True story.
Exactly.
Maybe he just didn't want his permanent record to be a name other than Rand.
Right.
He you know what? Maybe he liked the readings of Ayn Rand. Who knows?
They said he was a bit like a cult leader. The way he was with the other homeless people, he was way of a cult leader. All right, Zach, I know you got another good question. You always do.
Well, actually, Jason, it branches off just what you said. I mean, there was some discussion about that this gentleman was involved in that, possibly in a cult that involves satanic sacrifice and everything else. My question is, would the kidnappings that are related to what happened in the 80s, are they by any chance linked, by any chance to events like Pizzagate today, or are they linked with like child sex trafficking rings across the globe?
That is actually a very interesting question. Julia, do you want to address this? You want me to? Okay, she's pointing at me, folks. Alrighty.
I pictured that too, psychic.
I know, right? I'm telling you, we're like this, right? Me and you, we're like twin souls here. Yeah. Okay. Interesting enough that you bring that up. I do have to address something that you both have commented on, a statement that both of y'all have made, and that's the cult leader version of Andre Rand. Mm-hmm. Again, I want this made crystal clear. We are not trying to exonerate Andre Rand, okay? He's a piece of poo, and he needs to stay locked away for many, many reasons.
Yeah.
But during our investigation, we have received information that Andre Rand was legally considered a paranoid schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. We were also told during our investigation that he did not associate with other people. He kept to himself. He was a loner. He trusted no one because, and this is a direct quote, if you can't trust the 10 voices in your head, you're not going to trust the 10 people in front of you. Yes.
So he's claiming himself lone wolf.
So a cult leader, not so much.
No.
Okay? Not Andre Rand.
Andre
worked. Yes. He worked alone in his crimes, whatever those may be. I'm going to make this very crystal clear and read between the lines. Andre Rand was not involved in a cult.
But there was a cult.
Andre Rand was not involved in a cult.
So my imagination really takes that there was a cult involved, though.
That would be a very good way to look at things.
Yeah.
If you did not look at them with Andre Rand being the leader.
Right. Gotcha.
That does not mean they did not have one.
Exactly.
Just Andre Rand wasn't involved in it. Zach, you got another question? This was a great question. So you always have such good ones. I know you probably have a third one lined up.
Yeah, this one, I guess it's a multiple part question. It's my last one because even before Andre Rand was convicted of murder and kidnapping, I mean, the legend of Cropsey, from what I've read so far, I mean, it was very widespread over on Staten Island. My question is, because I think the Willow Creek State School was built around in the late 30s. Did the legend of Cropsey, was it just created as like a boogeyman story to scare children, or was the concept of Cropsey created just really as, I guess it's like promoting the fear, because at least for many children that went to institutes like this, or any other person that went to any kind of mental institution, unlike in the 21st century right now, we have a vast understanding of many disabilities like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, autism. It goes on, but the answer that many people, especially parents that had children that suffered from under many of these disabilities, they exhibited behaviors that at the time were not considered the norm. Was Cropsey also possibly created out of a sense of fear that many people did not understand, maybe of the individuals that had suffered with these
That is
disabilities.
true. But unfortunately, it was a true story. They thought it was just made up to scare everybody, to scare the children as a legend, but it was true.
And you wonder, this legend was spread before Rand was doing what he was doing. If this legend was spread to cover up something else insidious going on.
Let's go ahead and clarify. This legend was invented or brought up or made up to strike the fear in children, so parents could strike the fear in children so that they would not venture far away. And
I'm glad you just said that. That's why I was asking earlier about the time frame. I had forgotten that point.
Mm-hmm. And yes, it was around long before Andre Rand was around. But we also need to clarify one thing. Children disappearing from Staten Island was also around long before Rand was.
Yes.
So if you see where I'm going with that, children were disappearing before, and they have disappeared after his incarceration.
Right, that's the thing. I heard that there's still. Have you looked into that? What is like the most recent disappearance in that area?
Actually, if you consider all the boroughs of New York, Staten Island, upstate, everything, it's pages and pages.
Wow.
In the 5 boroughs.
In the 5 boroughs. As recent as this year.
Well, Zach, thank you for calling to the show. You always have the greatest questions. Thank you, bud.
All right. Thank you so much, Jason, for allowing me to call in, everybody. Have a great night.
You too, bud.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
And for people that still, phone lines are open. It is only one line really to call in. It's Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat on Skype. Just type that in the ID. Don't type in just 800 Live Chat because you'll get a phone sex line. I found out. Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. Yeah, right. That would be a problem. And Jeff will bring you on the video call. So if you got a question, I love this stuff. Paranormal aspect, like you were talking before, you're worried like people might lose interest once you get into the more of the investigation and more about the crimes and not about the paranormal. To me, I get just as interested. You could take the whole paranormal aspect, throw it out. Investigating and all that. I get just interested in the story itself. That's just me. I love unsolved mysteries.
True. And the thing is, what's that?
That was somebody calling on the wrong Skype line. Rhodey, call in on Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. Rhodey, call in on Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. The other Skype line is down because they're on my phone.
That's what it sounds like when people call in when I'm on Space Out Radio. Stop doing that, folks.
It's Rhodey. We love her. Rhodey, call in on Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. Somebody let her know in the chat room, too, for me. Wrong Skype line. She's used to calling in on that Skype line. That's why.
Oh, bless her. But, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Today when we were walking around and talking and tying up some loose ends, we did for a moment wonder what people would think if this ventured, down a different road. Mm-hmm. But when you look at it as a whole, whether it's paranormal or otherwise, the main objective should always be the truth.
Yeah.
It should always be about the truth and about the voices and about what is, what the message is. Mm-hmm. And I think even though we're maybe traveling down a different path, we're still providing every bit of that. And I actually think it's more important.
Yeah.
I think that this message is more important than, ooh, guess what I heard? Or, hey, did you hear that? Or, ooh, was that a scratch I got? I want people to look at this, and Julia wants people to look at this, and Gina and Rachel wants people to look at this as something that needed to happen.
Could be something more.
Definitely.
It sounds like you guys are going to. It sounds like there's a lot that needs to be exposed.
Yes, there is.
Mm-hmm.
and when it comes to,
we're laughing because we're overtired and
yes,
it's been a long 3 days.
Yes.
And you guys are just winding down to the end of the investigation. Part of it. The physical part of it, but there's going to be a lot more you guys have to dig into afterwards, I'm assuming, too.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, hundreds of hours of going through evidence and putting it together and, you know, getting our interviews done and making sure that it's done with the highest level of respect and integrity.
And
How long have y'all been on this investigation, like on location?
Since Friday, early Friday.
Early Friday morning.
Okay.
Yeah, Gina and I came in Thursday night, and we had a quick little tidbit at the Horsefly Chronicles house because I'd never been there, but I'd remote viewed for them a few times. And that was a buttload of fun, I'm telling you. And
it's a good place to start it off.
you know, I thought so too. I was like, you know what, might as well just put both feet in the fire.
Yeah.
And, and then we hopped in the car Friday morning and early and headed out to Staten Island. Oh, nice. And that's open. Yeah. That is actually.
We were getting a message.
Yeah, we were getting a message from somebody that something else really does need to be addressed. Okay, I'm trying to think of the way that I can put this because y'all know what situation we're in. All right. It is important for everybody to know that all four of us, because myself included, have all been victims of somebody trying to kidnap us.
Really?
When we were young.
When you were kids?
All four of us. Yes. All four.
Wow.
Okay. It is also very important to know that one of the girls, Rachel, was on Staten Island.
She was from Staten Island.
She was from Staten Island as well, and actually remembers exactly what the man looked like when he tried to kidnap her and trying to grab her under his trench coat. Okay, and she was actually able to duck, get away, and run for her life. Hold on, darling.
She keeps calling down the wrong line.
Okay, she'll get it. Just give her a minute, okay? It's late. But what's important about that one with Rachel is I did not know a damn thing about Rachel's situation with that attempted abduction. But I came with a notebook with my sketches of 3 men that I saw that quite possibly have a link to this entire situation. Rachel picked out one of my sketches as the man who tried to abduct her.
Oh, wow.
She saw the picture and started crying.
Checking my sketch.
And I will also go on record, as we all will, that gentleman, we now know, bears a striking resemblance to one of the original suspects for Jennifer Swaggert's kidnapping and murder. Yes.
So she could have been a victim
of
the same person.
Remember also that everything happens for a reason.
Everything.
The four of us are put together for a reason.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm going to give a message here for the chat room. Rhodey, who's trying to call in. Rhodey, give your Skype ID to Jeff there so he can call you if you're having trouble calling the Soup live chat, and he'll call you and bring you on. So, Rhodey, just give your Skype ID, and Jeff will call you. He might already have it. If you do, Jeff, call her. All right, sorry about that.
Call Rhodey.
I'm still waiting to hear Perry's question.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I saw that in the chat room. Perry, come on now. You got a question.
Well, yeah, I guess popped into my head when they had mentioned the Eyes Wide Shut connection there. And being that this all happened over so many years and supposedly involved homeless people taking these kids, was there ever anything looked into or any chance it was, as in the movie Eyes Wide Shut, some person or group of people possibly employing these homeless people to take the kids for them.
That's kind of what I was
Julia,
thinking.
It's too deep of a rabbit hole to go down right now.
Okay.
Speechless, actually.
Yeah. This is how I can answer that. Okay.
We have to be careful with
I
our
thought
words.
maybe
We
you
have
might
to be
not be
careful
able
with
to
our
answer it.
Yeah. This is how we can answer that particular question. It is our understanding, based on what we have learned since we have been on this island for the past 3 days, that there is one suspect. He is incarcerated, and that is all. That is all. That is our understanding of how this was perceived and is continued to be perceived.
But there's more than meets the eye on this, for sure.
That's what I was thinking.
Never. Yeah. Yep.
The old conspiracy theories come to mind, you know?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, Zach had to bring up the Pizzagate thing. I'm like, oh boy. But that's where my mind goes with it when you talk about Eyes Wide Shut and like some kind of conspiracy that might be going on.
Right, that's what made me think of it as
Now, just remember, this is Staten Island, New York. So, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of
research that.
there's a lot of crime going on, though. You know, it could be a mixture of things. I mean, you talk about an area with a lot of abandoned buildings. Well, you're going to ask for a lot of trouble.
Actually, can I address that statement for just a moment?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm from Alabama. I live in Oklahoma. And the names of places tend to mean something. Okay? Here on Staten Island, they're colorful in how they choose to label their areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this, if one wanted to propose a very odd place or a very convenient place, let me change that, to dispose of a body, one needs only to look at the place that has the most ironic name.
Mm-hmm.
Research Staten Island, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Really?
Look for odd named locations. Yeah, it's it's really kind of I don't know. It's
like a movie.
It's like a movie. You know, I'll put it this way: it's fresh. We're just going to leave it at that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well,
Trust me. Look it up.
Is it Staten Island itself, or the name Stanton? It's got an unusual meaning to it, or is this a certain location?
No, Staten Island has very interesting names for some of their streets.
Streets. Oh, okay.
And for some of their parks that used to serve other purposes.
Correct.
We got 15 minutes left to show. Anybody wants to call in? Rhodey, if you're still trying, it's Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. It's the only way to call in tonight because I got our guest on my one phone line, which is the phone and Skype line on my end. So if you want to call in the show, guys, we got 15 minutes left. It's Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. Put that all in a Skype ID search, and you'll find it, and Jeffrey will bring it on the show. Now, are you guys going to plan on, after putting all this together, putting back your documentary, you guys going to do a return trip, you think?
Oh, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot more to do.
There's a lot more to do. As long as we don't get run out of town, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They might not let you back after you release the video.
Pardon?
They might not let you back after you release the video. You know, they might be on the more lookouts.
I was just going to say, I'm from here. I've lived here my whole life. I was raised here. And I've never known what I know now. Yeah, as crazy as that is, like I come where I am now, I just can't believe I didn't know then. If that makes any sense.
Right. Well, it sounds like you guys are uncovering some
Being here, yeah,
dark
being
history.
here, being raised here all your life and just not knowing things is kind of scary. That were right in front of your face.
Right. Do you think this has brought you some closure for your friend?
Yes, I do.
Now, some of the evidence you guys are going to probably be showing in this video, what comes to mind is some of I know you don't want to give it all away, but like some really like blew you away evidence you plan on showing.
Oh, well, I mean, honestly, for us, and maybe others won't think it's so mind-blowing, but for us being right here in the situation, in the moment, the connections between not only the victims, but others in the spiritual realm, that was really what did it for us. It was like one led us to another, led us to another, led us to another.
Very emotional.
Very, very, very emotional. And when they fully understood why we were here, they wanted to communicate.
Yeah.
You know, and it's for one who was kidnapped after another to be able to state with certainty through a pendulum session how many or who it was, or whether or not it was the same person who did it. And I'm throwing all that speculation out there because I'm not giving nothing away. For them to be able to confirm what we already knew, and then validation was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
And you guys still have to review the evidence. You still probably have tons of audio and video to go through, I'm sure, as well. Yeah. So there's going to be more to find.
We got EVPs.
Oh, that's what I'm interested in. You know me, I love EVPs.
Well, here's the thing. We didn't even know we got them.
Yeah.
We didn't even know. We found out, actually, me and Julia found out first because, we collapsed on a bed here in the hotel because we were just exhausted. And I was trying to find some way to free up space on my damn phone. And so I started playing one of the videos. And it's the longest one. So I'm like, if I just load that up to my YouTube and put it on private so no one can see it, because we hadn't decided to share it yet.
Right.
But if I put it on private so no one can see it, then I can delete it off my phone, and that'll free up some space.
Right.
Well, we decided to go ahead and watch it. And within 2.5, 3 minutes, our jaws had already dropped at least once.
Yeah.
And we did not know we had gotten this.
Well, that's how EVPs usually work. You don't know you get them at the time.
It was only one.
That was only one of the videos, and that was the first thing we heard.
And don't forget, there's 4 of them. So we all have tons.
What was one of the most interesting EVPs? What did it say, you think?
Can I go ahead and discuss that first one? I got it. Okay, so that first, we didn't tag it in there because we wanted to see if anybody else caught it, and we did tell them to use headphones, even though we didn't need it. But when we were on Willowbrook grounds, we're videotaping as we came up the little hill. I mean, we're 4 old ladies. We're climbing up this hill for you people, and for these spirits, you got to understand that we're pooped. And we got up this hill. And I'm videotaping this whole thing. Julia had already had her hair pulled.
Mm-hmm. I was 2 steps in.
2 steps in and got her hair pulled.
2 steps in.
And we had just come upon the first building. And so I'm still videotaping this. It's a few minutes in, and I'm spanning around, and I start talking about the legend of Cropsey. No sooner do I say Cropsey, 2 seconds later, you hear a voice say, Cropsey.
Oh, wow. In a creepy childlike voice, I'm guessing?
Huh?
In a creepy childlike voice?
Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh,
it is. You can't not hear it.
Children EVPs that come across in children's voices are the most creepy. One of the questions I got from the chat room I think is a really good one. Did you guys ever try to cross over any spirits while you were there? Because I know there's investigators like Josh from Hope Paranormal. That's his big deal. He always is trying to cross spirits over, while other investigators are a little more timid to do that. I don't blame them. There could be consequences for trying to do that. Did you guys try to cross over spirits there?
Well, can I take this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing, and this is my viewpoint on it. Okay, I am 45 years old. I have done this the majority of my life. Okay, first seeing spirits at the age of 2. So I mean, I was lucky it was my grandma, but I've been this way and done this basically my whole life. In the hundreds of spirits that I've actually communicated with, not one has told me it was a one-way street.
Mm-hmm.
So crossing over is great as long as you understand they can come back upon their choosing.
Exactly.
So what we chose to do this time, because none of them asked for that.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
people crossed over.
Yeah.
They've all crossed.
Yeah.
They've crossed over.
Yeah, Jennifer was with her parents.
Yeah.
So she's
You know,
already crossed over.
it's,
She's came through to communicate.
Exactly. It isn't a one-way street. They can come and go as they see fit.
I've always
And
believed
the
that
thing
too.
is,
But I believe
yeah,
there's spirits
they
that
had a purpose.
I believe there's
Yeah,
spirits that
they had
can't
a
find
purpose.
the street. You know, that there's certain spirits that can't find it. They can't find the light.
And I can say, in all honesty, I don't feel, and I don't think Julia or Gina or Rachel does either, we didn't come across any that felt like they were bound here.
Exactly.
Well, at least that's a good thing when it comes with children.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely a good thing.
That's the only
They
thing.
just wanted to get the message to us.
That's only the one thing that's always disturbed me about tales and evidence of my own I've gotten of children and EVPs. You know, is they, no matter what happened, they did nothing wrong. Why are they trapped? And sometimes you do see that children are trapped. But that, to me, that's the hardest thing to accept, is like, how do they become trapped or lost? They're a child. There should be some higher power to stop that.
You would like to think so. Unfortunately, and even though I love the show, I got to be honest with you, life isn't like The Ghost Whisperer, okay? And it just isn't.
Yeah, that's
and
Hollywood.
the fact remains that how you are in life is how you are in death until you inhabit another body. That's been my understanding. So, you know, if you're a poopy person in life, you're a poopy person in death, which means you're not going to be real helpful over there. You know, if you're a good person in life, you're a good person in death, which means you might be more helpful, or you might choose to literally go to another realm, or, you know, not communicate, or hell, I'd travel. I'm not going to lie to you. You know,
Right. You know, if you have the ability to go anywhere.
Hey, Tahiti would be free. You know what I mean? But it's just how they're laughing at me now. It's not a whole lot different than life, with the exception that you're not in a body and you don't have bills.
You don't, that sounds great, actually. You better, there's that documentary or that movie they just had on Netflix where they it's Robert Redford's in it, and they able to communicate with the other side, and they find out it's real and prove it to everybody that the other side's real, and everybody starts committing suicide. Well, I can go over there. I don't have to pay my bills.
I know, right? No bills and no chubby little meat sacks. So yeah, I mean, I get you, but it just really doesn't. In my experience, and I am no expert, none of us are, okay?
No.
But in my experience, it hasn't worked that way. It just doesn't work that way. So, but we were unbelievably lucky that we only had a couple of instances where what we came into contact with appeared to wish us harm, and was trying to lead us into an area that would cause us harm. That only happened a couple of times, 2 or 3 times. For the most part, the spirits were one of 2 ways. They were hush hush, ain't gonna help you. We don't talk about that type of stuff. Or very helpful. Or very helpful. Me, let's chat. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like there was something on the other side trying to stop? You kind of briefly mentioned this, but you felt that maybe there's something that was trying to stop them from talking. So like a dark spirit, you're saying, maybe a murderer who's died, you think?
Maybe somebody who was connected with the original kidnapping.
Yeah, I believe so.
Very possible.
So we're talking sometime in the next few months. Maybe you guys might be releasing the video.
Oh yeah.
I know video editing is a pain in the butt. So
a little bit.
Yeah. Have fun with that. But I'm gonna be anticipating anxiously here to see this because it sounds so interesting. I mean, I can't wait to see what kind of, the evidence you guys got and the sessions you did there, because the whole story is so interesting. To me, like I said, it brought back the Nightmare on Elm Street kind of feel, but, it goes back to the old Hook Man on the Road tale. We had that in my town. Every town has them, but very few have towns where it seemed to have come to life to become real.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing is I actually lived in a town where it did come to life. I lived in Wichita, Kansas for 25 years, and the BTK killer actually came to my dad's house.
Oh, my God.
And was too afraid to get the raccoon out of the window well. So,
people were living
he
in
was
fear.
totally cool with killing women, but couldn't get that damn raccoon.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. That's another thing we all have in common is living in areas where stuff like this has actually happened.
Well, I met somebody when I went to school at Columbia College who lived in the town where John Wayne Gacy was murdering people, and he lost a friend to most likely John Wayne Gacy, and it was just really interesting to hear his story about what it was like to grow up around that. He was older than me, but what it was like as a kid to grow up in that town while people were going missing, and to find out you had this monster living in your midst with you. That's how these stories always end. Like he was such a quiet person, or he was a family man, like that's BTK,
exactly.
John Wayne Gacy, these guys are hidden monsters. My kid asked me, are monsters real? And I'm one of those parents that always likes to not lie as much as I possibly can with my kid. So I'm like,
it's just gonna say, yeah.
I'm like, there are real monsters out there. They're people, and they can be scarier than some of the stuff you see on TV. There are real monsters out there. I want them to know there are people that can hurt you. And when I looked into this case, when you talk about missing children, to me that's my worst nightmare. I read John Douglas, FBI Profiler's Into the Darkness, and he talked about his experience being a profiler and then having to go back and be a father and be paranoid about every little thing his kid's doing and who's watching him, and seeing people in a crowd, that person could be a potential child stalker, stuff like that. As a parent, I'm a worrywart, a paranoid. So these kind of stories is like Cropsey, to me is the ultimate darkness, the ultimate nightmare as a parent you could go through. So my hope is that you guys, with whatever evidence you do get, that maybe you'll bring some closure, maybe you'll bring some truth and light to something that maybe there's people out there that deserve to be punished still, as well.
Yes, absolutely. That's all we want is the truth.
Yeah. Not, that's what you
not
need.
Not to free, not to exonerate, the truth.
Yeah,
exactly.
And but for those children that went missing, the worst part to me is that you guys don't even think we'll probably find the bodies. That to me is the worst part, is the not knowing that they just disappeared and there's no body found. I could never imagine being a parent and never knowing. It would just tear me apart. And then they say knowing could tear you apart too, knowing what happened. Either way, it's just the worst situation, the worst living hell I could imagine for a parent. So,
or passing away and not knowing.
Oh, for the person that deceased, not knowing they passed away, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, that too, for ghosts, and for a child. That's, again, those EVPs with children's voices always are the ones that freak me out the most, because how does that happen with a child's spirit? Well, we are at the end of our show. Thank you so much, ladies, for taking your time out of your very busy weekend you had investigating to do this interview. Again, awesome story. I think people were very interested tonight to hear it and are really interested to see what you guys are going to be putting out in the next few months from your investigation. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
We'll get you guys on again. Maybe we'll get you on when you have internet and we can get you on by video and talk some more about this investigation. Maybe after the video comes out. It'd be great to have you on.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Next Sunday is going to be episode 100 of Paranormal Soup. We're going to have Varla Venture on to talk about banshees, werewolves, and vampires. She writes about the mythological, but people's real experiences with them, including mine. That's how I got in contact with her, because of my banshee experience. So I cannot wait to have her on and talk about that. Episode 100. Can you believe it? We've made it to 100 episodes. Next Sunday, 10 p.m. to midnight, people Central Time, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then. Same bat channel, same bat time. Have a great night, guys. See you next Sunday.